Happy belated.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, go ahead, Erwin. Why don't you start it? Oh, what happened? Oh, well, he disappeared. We'll wait for him to come back on.
Okay.
Must have gotten kicked off. But
He's
thank
still
you,
not
everybody.
there. Yeah.
Thank you, everybody, for being here today. This is part of the FANHS Museum's monthly speaker series. And
Sorry about that. Why don't we go ahead and get started? It's 15 minutes
Okay.
past the hour. Um, just wanted to say good afternoon, everybody. My name is Erwin Mina. I'm the board president of the Filipino American National Historical Society Museum, and thank you for attending today's Zoom meeting. In honor of Veterans Day, this month's museum speaker series will feature retired U.S. Army Major General Antonio Taguba. Antonio Taguba is a retired Major General in the United States Army. He is among a rare few of American citizens of Filipino ancestry to be promoted to the rank General in the United States Army. So with that, Tony, Major General Taguba, please take it away.
Well, I don't have much to say other than to thank you for inviting me to your monthly session with the Filipino American History National Society. But I do have a declaration to make that we did have, after about 4.5 years of planning and doing, the Filipino veterans version of Duty to Country, which is phenomenal. You know, when we planned this, we wanted to do it in 4 parts, 4 chapters. One, the relationship between the Philippines and the United States, the colonial period. Second was the move to for independence back in the 1930s when the Philippine Congress was trying to petition the United States government and was given 10 years to proclaim themselves as independent. And then World War II, which is a seminal part of our relationship, with thousands and thousands and thousands of men and women serve under the command of the United States flag. And then the contemporary period, where we're at now. And I dare say that the Department of Education granted funds. They actually approved the development of that program. And $500,000 was provided to us, and we have to spend every penny. And so the end result is that Duty to Country is being taught in 7 states as we speak. That we have 38 teachers teaching it. We have 2 college professors teaching it. Judy Pataxel and Jem Doss is teaching it at the college level. And the total number of students that we have that's been affected is 2,324 and 64 college students, all in 1 year. And we've been outreaching. My disappointment is that San Diego is outreaching, far-reaching the Bay Area. We don't have a single high school, elementary school, college in the San Francisco Bay Area that's using it. None. And Erwin, you were at that presentation I made in March of this year at the Marine Memorial Hotel, right? So, but I want to correct that. We even sent our outreach director, Dr. Valerie Mendoza, to the Philippine American Conference of Educators back in San Diego, right? No takers until yesterday. We had a teacher from Logan High School in Union City that's interested in teaching it. Like, what phenomenal! I mean, I'm just elated that somebody's interested. We have 2 elementary schools are actually using it. We have 3 middle schools are using it. Most of them are high schools now. and two colleges. And it was designed for middle and high school, but obviously a lot of folks have done it. I don't know if any of you have seen the website, is dutytocountry.org.
Yeah.
I've seen it, yeah.
It's phenomenal. I mean, we briefed the Department of Education, and the comments was, this is the first time they've ever seen something innovative as that. When you have integrated animation, historical facts, everything else, a lot of resources on one video. Plus, we have been sending out profile cards. It's a deck of 30 cards to the students. So far, we've distributed about 2,500. We are not just printing the graphic novel, 225 pages. Everybody wants one. We're only right now, first batch would be 1,000. 850 will go to schools first, and then all others that we have, because they're expensive to print. It's we paid $20,000 for each production for producing that graphic novel. Aria Villafranca was our colorist, and she's also a part of the storyline. To print it is about 12,000, and then to ship it out is a lot more. And we want to, print some more, but as you know, it costs money to do that. But I think promises were made. So, it's a whole package where if you take a look at the lesson plans, any educators or teachers in the group here, it was made where 10 lesson plans done by Leah Namayas from Indianapolis, where you could actually pick and choose from each of the lesson plans with the explainers, and then you build your curriculum for the class. It was designed that way because we wanted to be available. And oh, by the way, the whole program is free to the user. Erwin, if you want to download the whole thing, you can. It's free. It won't charge you.
So Tony, I have some news that from the Stockton Unified School District, that the curriculum of Filipino American history topic is being put on as a requirement. I have Linda Claramo online here, and
right.
with this Call the Duty website, Linda, do you have any comments on that we could do this, right?
Yeah, General Taguba, do you know Syrian Valencencio?
Yes, of course. I asked him to present it again to his contacts, and I'm glad he did it. Yeah.
Yeah, so he's planning to do some type of presentation or announcement about the duty to country. Yeah. I think we're waiting until after the holidays.
Yeah.
To do something. It's gonna be open to everybody, not just FANHS, but
sure
everybody. So he's planning something.
Yeah, and I'm glad the Hawaii Department of Education literally approved the whole package. So they're teaching it in the Hawaii schools. The Philippines wants it. Did you all know that? So the word's getting out, and they want copies of the graphic novels for their libraries and to be educated and stuff like that. I think we don't want to popularize it. We just want people to recognize that we have a very innovative education program that has met the standards of learning, that met the code of courses and whatever have you. And a lot of that was taken from teachers, 16 to 20 teachers that we had in a conference. We had before you produce anything, we wanted to have their comments. We had a conference on October 22nd, 2022, a day and a half worth, and we took everything that they want to be on that duty to country education program. And what you see when you get to see it is everything that they wanted was on it. So we're delighted. The states that we have is California, San Diego, San Jose, Atlanta, Georgia, Hawaii. We have 3 high schools there. One of them is my alma mater. Maryland, we have a cultural school in Bowie. New Jersey, we have one high school, and all of them are being taught duty to country, 867 of them. Virginia, of course, the superintendent for K-12 programs has accepted it, and will have it taught on the 2nd semester. Teachers in Washington, 1 middle school, 1 elementary school. We're working on a high school. Washington, of course, is also involved. Illinois is also interested, and we're doing it. We're not trying to canvas the whole country. We're just doing it one at a time, because it takes a lot of management, and that sometimes I always say to my board and also our volunteers that sometimes we are the victim of our own success. You know, you do something and you didn't literally plan how the outcome would be, but then we are motivated by putting it out. And I would like to think that FANHS will be part of that whole program.
Yeah, every for the past year, Jim Doss, is on the FANHS trustees, and him and Patricia Halagao, they report on it when we have our quarterly meetings,
Right.
to say, how the progress had been. And then when it finally came out, they gave us the links, and all those links, everything was all sent out to all 40. Now there's 42 chapters across the United States. So it was sent out to everybody on the FANHS side, so they all know about it. So and then they have to get in touch with their school districts and their whoever officials and stuff. But
Terry, one favor. If we went out to FANHS, is it possible for them to give us feedback?
Oh, okay. I can ask. I don't know what kind of what Patricia and Jem are, if what they're keeping track of, if they've heard back from anybody. I can ask them. Our next meeting is in December 8th or 9th or something like that. So I can ask, see if to give you feedback, so how it's gone out or whatever.
Let me give you a couple of surprises. So Patricia Halagao, who I met in August of last year, was developing the Filipino cultural education program, right? So we were there. So she called me along with her student organizers on how they could somehow use some of the development items from duty to country to provide it on their cultural studies, which was also approved by Hawaii. So we met 3 times. We provided them with some references of teachers and also some products that we provided for them to kind of, because when I saw theirs, it's typically a standardized, it's pretty good, by the way. But if you're going to teach it to youngsters, you got to plus it up. Animation, illustration, lesson plans, handouts, because, we're teaching not just Generation Z, we're teaching Generation Alpha. And that's the reason why we want to plus this up. Now, Jem, we had a meeting yesterday. I didn't even know Jem was teaching it at University of Maryland, College Park. He never said anything teaching it. He's got 32 students. I didn't know Judy Pataxil, another FANHS member. I didn't know she was teaching it at Miramar. Right. We need feedback so we can kind of record that and provide that to the Department of Education, because I have to submit a performance management report.
Oh, okay.
Hey, Linda, I see in the chat box you had some comments about duty to country.
Yes. Oh, yes. And I just was sharing with everybody that The Filipino American Studies was just approved, maybe, Elaine, about a week ago. And
Right.
as part of the curriculum, they're going to use duty to country
Right.
as
Oh,
one
good.
of the units.
Right.
Okay, so,
Because
and that's going to
we
be in
wanted,
Stockton
yeah,
Unified.
right. You know, the military side of the Filipino culture, the first and second regiments and the battalions, you know, we're part of that whole culture. Just to give you a historical context, when we started the Congressional Gold Medal Movement, National Call to Action, I attended your FANHS conference in San Diego. Everybody wants to go to San Diego, August of 2014. And the condition for FANHS to support the program for the Congressional Gold Medal was that we include the first and second Filipino regiment. Done. Done. So for the past 5 years now, we have done 107 award ceremonies to over 3,500 recipients of the Congressional Gold Medal. You know, with a paltry sum of money. Yeah, and that's the condition that we have. And FANHS was part of that whole program, and we still are. And but you know, we just want a little bit of recognition that that duty to country is being used. When you look at the program, at each lesson plans, there's a survey on there. We want teachers to let us know what improvements we can do, because we don't want this to be a static program. We want it to be a gradual, progressive program.
Okay.
Okay, so we have teachers that are collecting the survey questions in this inaugural. So, and then our website developer, who actually developed this Night Kitchen, provided us with 1 year's worth of program management, no charge, so we can improve the program over time. Right? It's almost like building a car. You don't want it to be a 2023 model. You want it to continue building on it, and that's what we want to do.
Okay.
Yeah. So.
Okay. Yeah, I'll report that to the Christy Paso.
Right.
Is part of from Texas.
Yeah, she's part.
Yeah.
I asked her, how come there's no high schools in Houston that she can outreach to? Because 3 of her kids went to high school. You got to know their teachers.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right.
So I'll and we're getting, and actually I'll ask them to put it as an agenda item
Right.
for the December meeting, just so that they know that they need to report back either to you or the
Sure.
powers that be, that
Sure.
you're looking for feedback, you're looking
Right.
who's implemented it, and
Sure.
and what needs to be done to improve it over time.
Yeah. You know, the big word is FREE.
Yeah.
Who turns down free?
Yeah. Yeah.
You know?
This is that, to me, this is I wish there were more people signed on today, but what usually happens with our programs, people watch it later on YouTube.
Sure.
So even like, we usually get about 100 more people watching it. So
Right.
to me, this is important. And when I put this out, I'm definitely going to make sure that it goes to all the FANHS chapters and the trustees, saying, hey, you guys were a part of this, sort of, and you need to be listening to this, and you need to get back to General Taguba, because how can it progress?
Right.
So anyway,
I'm
sorry that nobody's.
Well, we just want feedback. I assume Miss Dorothy has seen it, and we presented it at the FANHS conference last year. I was a little bit disappointed, because you know how many people actually attended that?
I was in the audience and it was in the big auditorium, and yeah, it wasn't that, it was sparse.
10,
Yeah.
10, 30, 10 attended. But okay, just one event. But I think over time,
Yeah.
that this thing is going to grab. I mean, it's still new. It needs. We do a lot of outreach. Some of our members are gone out of pocket, going to conferences and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Because we need to reach out, every community.
Okay.
So Tony, if there was one summary message to the group that exists here today, and then anybody who watches it, what message is that?
I think, well, we pride ourselves at having contributed to the accomplishment and the history of our country, but we're not so vocal. And we can be vocal in California, we can be vocal in Washington State and Hawaii, maybe Florida. But what about the middle America? I think, like I've always said, if you want to be recognized, you got to be up front. You got to have a vote at the table. And it took a while for our veterans to get their recognition. I mean, almost 90 years. And most of them are dying. In Washington, D.C., we got 2 living veterans. And I use that as a standard. California, maybe not too many. And not even in anywhere else for that matter. So that's the message, that, we can't just be clubs or associations or programs and stuff like that. And that's what we're trying to do with Duty to Country. We're trying to spread it across and making sure that they recognize the whole, not just the veterans, of course, the U.S.-Philippine relations and how it came about, and how Morro Bay was discovered, and how the little settlement in Louisiana. Because we have a voice. We have a voice, but not too many are in Congress, or not too many in office and things like that. Because if you want to know how we're going to continue with the generations here, well, we need to teach our kids, because they're going to carry our legacy. And that's part of the reason why we have to be progressive in our organizations, spread the wealth. So with FANHS, with Fill That Rep, with FALA, and I can be critical because we can't all be socializing. We should be educating. When's the last time that we ever had a national event that happened? You all remember Sandaan? No?
No.
That was done by a small group of...
I do.
We do? Sandaan, right? 2006, which celebrated the 100-year of Filipinos in America, right? And we haven't done one lately, or something similar to it. Sonny Izon, who passed away from a heart attack in Milan, was one of the organizers. John Milagredo was one of them. Patricia Halaga was one of them. I think Jem Dawes was, but that was the last time we did anything with our Filipino American community in the country. Are we overdue? I think so.
Where was this held at, Major General?
It was an exhibition across the country, from New York all the way to Hawaii. I can send you a copy of the pamphlet that I saved. It's a marvelous piece of pamphlet. John Mellegrino, who's part of our Fil-Ams rep, was one of the organizers. And Smithsonian was actually the proponent for it. Incidentally, the curator for the National Museum of American History just happens to be Dr. Theo Gonzalez. You all know him?
Yeah,
Filipino.
yes. Gonsalves, yes.
Right. Yeah. You know, I protested to him that in 2011, the Smithsonian displayed the Japanese American Nisei soldier exhibition. That's 2011. And I've been saying, why is the Filipino American story not up there? So 3 months ago, I went back to the museum this year, and the exhibition for the Nisei soldiers was still up. And I saw one picture of a Filipino American soldier, Mr. Guillermo. One picture, 1.5 picture that's showing the worth of their sacrifice. Made me mad. And Theo is a good friend.
Which museum and what location is that?
It's the National Museum of American History in Washington, D.C. It brings me back to our participation in building the National Museum for Asian American Culture. If we don't voice our concern about participating and being a member on the task force or the board, it's going to be just like that, or when one picture of Filipinos. I mean, I may be over dramatic, but if we don't start putting in our concerns about representation on the board, task force, organizing committee, raising money, we're going to get discounted. Trust me, that's how Washington does. We might have a quarter, you know, but we want
Major
to
General, I totally appreciate that. In that in our own museum, we had this little 3x4 picture of Larry Itliong as well, and so
Yeah.
we took it upon ourselves to start spreading the word there.
Right.
I think that would be a journey for us all to go to this National Museum in Washington and change
take
that.
a look. Right.
Well, how do we, excuse me, how do we get or how do we submit a picture of a recipient in Washington, D.C.? Because we have one that was in that 442 here in Stockton that we
Right.
have on our Veterans Board, but not signifying that he was in the 442.
I think that the correct question would be, or a better question would be, how do we talk to the right person to make that change? We won't just send a picture. We want to make sure that we, as a closed loop corrective action, we find out what the cause and effect is, and then talk to the right person to fix it.
It's to provide any type of artifact to the Smithsonian, for example, or any of the museums, the African American, American Indian, and I mean, it takes a long process because are you gonna donate it, or do you want to sell it? And they may accept it, but they may not exhibit it.
Right.
So and the best contact, you know, is of course Larry Gonzalez, because we tried that once before, and it costs a lot of money for the exhibition because they do charge unless it's legislated. But again, going back to the National Museum for Asian Americans, Asia Pacific Americans, you know, we're going to have to collect a lot of artifacts to put it on there. But it's not just artifacts, videos, photographs, anything that we want to see for educational purposes. Because I was dealing with the National Museum of the United States Army to showcase the Filipino American Congressional Gold Medal. And I hit, and the board, the chairman of the board is my former boss, and we couldn't get it through because of scheduling. And for the Asian American one that's going to be built, I'm not even sure where in Washington, D.C. they're going to build it. For those of you who have been to Washington, D.C., it's so freaking congested, But it's going to get built.
Hi,
One
Tony.
way or the other.
Hi, Tony. This is Sonia. How are you?
Fine. How are you?
Doing well.
Are you back in the States now? Or are you somewhere in Paris or
Back,
Manila? Whatever.
back, but I'll see you next Tuesday at the White House.
Okay. Okay,
Um,
you're going? Okay.
yes. You mentioned about Sandaan. What
Yeah.
is the next milestone that we can prepare for as a national event?
Well, I'm not sure when is the next 100 years. We'll probably be all
Well, it
dead.
doesn't have to be 100 years, but what
I know,
is
yeah.
that significant milestone
Uh,
such that we can rally all the groups together?
Well, one is trying to get them to participate more clearly and with lots of presence on the building of the National Museum of Asian Americans. But in terms of an event, we have to pick a date, a certain date in history that we can celebrate it. And I don't know that on the top of my head at the moment.
Okay, I think that's probably what we can do, and then intergenerational, we can have a big event that will have everybody, not just one organization.
I mean, it's kind of generational, right? And something that we can celebrate and get the old timers who designed Sandaan and just basically build that history. And we have a lot of talent here. FANHS, other organizations, John Malagrito has a ton of files on his brain about building Sandaan. And I was almost a part of that. I say almost because I didn't know it was going on, and then until they invited me to the ceremony at the Smithsonian. And he went across. I mean, he was on display in San Francisco Museum. But when I say that to them, none of them actually, knew about it. So, except maybe Patricia Halligan, but yeah, well, we have. I mean, that's a good question, Sonia. Let me think about that.
Yeah, let's do that.
General Taguba, this is Linda Claramo again.
Yeah.
So, John Malagrito with
Yes.
the Fil-Ams vet rep, does he
Yes.
have? Seems like because actually I used to work with him. That's why I know a little bit about this. But
Right.
Could he be like the group that creates all of the whatever is needed to get some more recognition of Filipino American veterans? I'm not quite sure about what his role is or what the group is doing now.
Well, he was part of NAFA to begin with, right? So NAFA has a ton of background in terms of events, not just social events, but activities, and be it political or social. You got Lloyd Lewis is part of that group.
Yeah.
You got Gloria Kawili. I mean, they're still here, and they're still lucid, So trying to get that all together should be very fruitful. There's a whole. Gloria's in Las Vegas. I mean, I don't know if she's retired or not. Rosita Lee is part of that group, and so
They're still active, Tony.
still active, right?
Yeah,
She's in her
Rosita
80s.
and Gloria are still at it.
One of the things that Phil Vet Rep is doing, we had three missions, the Congressional Gold Medal, Duty to Country now, We said it's successful, but we want success when it gets to every state. But we're also dealing with remediating the Rescission Act. You all familiar with that?
Yeah.
Right, because we've been discussing this now for the last 3 years with our group. There's 14 of us, lawyers, educators, PhDs, advocates, and whatever have you. So finally, we got a recommendation to the members of Congress when we met with them in December and recently, because we're trying to get a sponsor, and I think we can have one, either Senator Hirono or Senator Masto from Nevada, or Evan Warnock from Georgia, or a few, because we're using the wrong word of repealing. We cannot repeal 2 laws. There's 2 rescission acts, because in one of the acts there's 16 different provisions, amendments. So it'd be difficult to repeal every one of them. So in negotiation with the congressional staffers, because they're very supportive of it, is maybe we don't use the word repeal. Maybe we use restore dignity and honor as a legislative language, right? Or we can use remediate, because what we want are 5 different things. One is a public apology, national apology from the President of the United States. Second is a memorial fund, meaning building an education program that might be useful for the museum, for example, the upcoming museum, or teaching the U.S.-Philippine relationship and the outcome of all of that in our schools. Not every school, not every state will be doing that, but we want a memorial fund. And by the way, that's what the Japanese American did. They established a memorial fund. Not building a museum, but education. Number 3, we want Army, the U.S. Army and Veterans Affairs to reopen the recognized guerrilla roster of 260,000 names. The reason why we want it to reopen is because in 1948, the United States Army excluded women guerrillas. Right? We had over 3,000 women guerrillas, maybe even 30,000. They excluded them because for whatever reason. And number 4, we want a declaration from Congress that would literally say all of the veterans, all of the soldiers that fought in the United States Army forces in the Far East be considered as clearly as U.S. veterans. A declaration. And I forget the 5th one. But back to the Memorial Fund, we're not asking for any more new money. You know why? Because there's $55 million that is still active as being held for the Filipino Veterans Equity Compensation Bill back in 2009. And they're holding that $55 million for appeals for that application. But what they didn't understand is that there's 9,500 that's still appealing of not receiving the 15,000 if you live in the United States, and the 9,000, because they're all dead, most of them. So how is somebody going to appeal when their exercises the deadline? And even if they had one appeal, they still one appeal, by the way, that's on record. It takes 930 days to go through the process of appeal. How many years is that, Aaron?
It's like 3 years, 4 years.
Right.
Yeah.
By the time they get to the appeal, the veteran might be dead. And if it's a next of kin, the family member. See, people don't think that way here in Congress. Just because it's on paper, they don't turn the page. So we all agreed, the staffers and I, we, as I said, not I, that if we can reprogram some of that 55 million to do all of the congressional actions to include a memorial fund, we're not asking Congress for any more money. Does that make sense to you? That's going to be hard because we're in the middle of an election year. But me and 13 other participants are not going to give up. We can't give up until we get a resolution on the Repeal Act. That's 79 years old, and it's still there. It's still an albatross, whether a veteran is alive, like Mr. Dillon, or anybody else. We have to correct that. They corrected it for the Japanese Americans. They corrected it for the Chinese Americans. They got it corrected for the Filipino Americans. You'll get it? Right? We just don't want to say it's too hard. It's hard when your dignity and your honor was stolen from you, from your grandfather, from your mother. That gets me. I know Sonia would agree with that for her father, soon to be 100 years old. So we're going to do it as long as I'm lucid. You know,
Thank you.
we're going to do it. I know Matthew is going to help sometime along the line.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Did I make everybody sad or quiet or something?
Well, thank you, Major General.
Call me Tony, by the way.
Yeah, I would, but my wife corrected me and said you should call him Major General. But
Yes.
Yeah. You know, my wife says she's a general.
but
I'm retired, so I'm sorry. Go ahead.
so Tony, I want to continue this dialogue because
Yeah.
it's really important that,
I'm in the
like you
dark.
said,
Yeah.
we don't give up on this, and
We can't.
we can't. And you know, I was one of the lucky few that got, you know, my dad got his benefits and got the Congressional Gold Medal, but
Right.
you know, on behalf of a community, I think you're right. We cannot give up, and
Right.
perhaps we could start kind of a side dialogue afterwards, and
Yeah.
you know, and allocate some of our resources as well. And although ours is not as big, but it's something that we could provide
Yeah.
some help and assistance. And like I said way back in March, how do we help? And I still have that question in my mind. You know, given
Thank
that, any parting thoughts, and then we'll do a real quick Q&A afterwards.
Oh, no. I think Beverly has a question. Somebody
Yeah,
posted.
and Jaleesa does also.
Okay.
Well, Jaleesa, why don't you go first?
Oh, sure. Good afternoon. I'm not in a place where I should be on camera, so I apologize. Major General, it's a pleasure to meet you, sir. I'm an ex-Navy Nurse Corps lieutenant. Thank
Good
you
for you.
Thank you. Selfish plug, I work for Kaiser Permanente now, and I am actually the co-chair for Northern California, our Veterans Association, and hoping if it would be okay if I could connect with you offline. We're
Okay.
always looking for motivational speakers for our group of veterans who have self-identified and put themselves out there to commit to Kaiser Permanente, but also we want to continue to honor their service. And just reading your story, I was stationed in Guantanamo Bay. I was not in the
Oh,
camp, but I heard,
it wasn't
I had
fun.
heard things. Yes, I had heard things and just started, and forgive me because I'm just catching up to the movie, and thank you, Erwin, for arranging this, and I'm glad I was here today, but I am intrigued, and I want to continue to learn more about you. So thank you for representing Filipino Americans and for all that you've done, and thank you for continuing to help us advocate for ourselves. So thank you.
Thank you. Thanks, Harrison.
Beverly, you had something? You're on mute if you're talking. Unmute.
No, I didn't. I just thank you for this event that's happening today.
Thanks,
Okay.
Bev.
All right. Last thoughts, Tony?
No, I think I spoke more than my allotted quota.
You're the star. How about anybody else? We'll do a real quick roundtable. Anybody out there that have any questions? Tony, I definitely want to tie out with you afterwards. I have some
Sure.
ideas from a
Right.
grassroots perspective, how we could assist the cause.
Okay.
Okay. Any last thoughts or any questions?
No?
No, thank you very much, Tony. Appreciate it. I hope to see you real soon. I have some ideas on some venues that perhaps we could put your the cause out and
Right.
and it should get some attention, at least California wide, perhaps even
Yeah.
nationwide.
Just a comment to Linda. Well, Linda, you mentioned that Syrian
Oh, yes.
approach.
Yes.
You know, way back when, I think it was 2013, California had passed Assembly Bill 199.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so a small group of us met at the Marine Corps Memorial Hotel. Cecilia and a couple of other
Yeah.
folks, Ray, and Cordova. You know, and then they started that program. And then because there was no money associated with it, they only had they I forgot the name of that teacher that made that created that curriculum for 11th grade students only, right?
Oh, yes. Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
I remember.
but you remember that?
Yes.
So here we are promoting a large menu called Duty to Country
Mhm.
that includes Bataan and the whole thing. And I would be very surprised if there's no more than one Logan High School that is wanting to teach Duty to Country. Well, it's an all-made process of curriculum and resource, 200 resources, by the way, a lot of videos on it, and to include profile cards and graphic novels. Who would want to turn that down?
Right.
So I would need, it's there, it's free,
Yes.
and
Right.
we design it that way. I think it would be, it would be fortuitous for them to use it.
Yes, I agree. And you know that Cecilia Garland,
Yeah,
she's actually, we worked with her, and some of you like Erwin, and we all
Right.
support her, the
Right.
baton. Yeah, so she's actually a member of our chapter.
oh,
So
good,
yeah, she's a member of our chapter. And so we have gone out. In fact, that's where we met you. It's like we went
Right.
out to San Leandro to the USS
Right.
Hornet.
right,
Mhm. And so
yeah.
she's somebody that can be tapped, Erwin, too. Like if you want to do
Absolutely.
something. Yeah,
Linda,
she's
Linda,
really good.
offline, let's get together on this. This
Mhm.
is way bigger than I think we could solve in this meeting. But
Exactly.
Yeah.
You're right.
definitely.
Yeah. And one other program that's underway is the naming of the ship. Tell us 403 to that.
Yes.
Oh wow.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we were
Yes,
part of,
yes.
we wrote letters.
Right.
Hmm.
So how do you include that in the FANHS, process? Because it's name. All we have to do now is build it.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
That would be a big
One comment, Tony, is that Logan High School, it's in the middle of Union City. It's one of the biggest Filipino American
Yeah.
populace in the area, and I'm guessing that if we use that same model, we could probably go after specific
know.
areas like that.
Yeah, I used to go with my cousins to Union City when I was in college, and they all played mahjong, and we all went around. But all the kids went bowling. We didn't want to play an all-nighter on mahjong and stuff. Oh. All right.
Okay.
Well,
Well,
thank you
if-
very
if-
much for inviting me. I'm sorry if I bored some of you, but I think we have a big deal to do.
Yes.
Because everybody else is rising up to the podium, and I think we, as Filipino Americans, representing our families and our kids, ought to be voicing our concerns as well.
Thank you very much, Tony. If there are no other questions, why don't we go ahead and close this, and we'll do some subtask calls, and we'll
Okay.
start. We'll start.
Right. All right.
Thank you, Tony.
I
Thank
apologize for the
you.
lighting.
Thank you.
Okay.
Bye-bye.
Okay.
Thanks.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Bye now.
Have a good,
Bye-bye.
yeah. Have a good week. Thank you.
Okay, you too. Bye.
Bye, Sonia.